Hola mis amigos and possible amigos, my name is Taffray16, welcome back to another reaction video, and welcome to my reaction to Blue Peter. So, if you're British, you know what Blue Peter is, I assume. If you're not, I don't know how you got here, but let me explain. So Blue Peter is the longest running children's television show in the entire world. It is still running to this day, and its first episode was on October 16th, 1958. Yeah, to repeat, October 16th, 1958. That's how long it's been going. It is still going to this day. And the premise is pretty simple. It features viewer and presenter challenges, competitions, celebrity interviews, popular culture, sections on making arts and crafts, has had featured animals, outdoorsy activities, all types of stuff, basically. All types of stuff is Blue Peter. Show has had, to date, over 5,100 episodes. So, which actually doesn't seem like a lot, considering how long it's been broadcast, but... So, you might wonder, where do you possibly start with this show? Well, I went to YouTube, and I typed in Blue Peter, and I saw an episode from 1970, and I said, that looks good, so that's what we're going to watch. Alright, this is about 28 minutes, and again, this episode's from the year 1970, allegedly. Science fair? Trains of the future.
Hello.
Dog.
And all those people at Euston Station, well, they weren't waiting for a train. Not one that you could actually travel on, anyway.
They were actually
And
waiting
Cass.
for an important exhibition, which is all based on our Train of the Future competition. Actually, it's our very first ever Blue Peter exhibition, and we're very proud that it's being held at one of Britain's biggest mainline stations.
And one of the first things you'll see if you go along to Euston is our Blue Peter ship sailing proudly at the top of the Trains of the Future poster that announces the exhibition.
The camera cuts.
Quite a crowd had gathered as I arrived and walked over to a small platform in one corner of the exhibition.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's nice to see so many people here.
Our Train of the Future competition was very popular, and a lot of artists had come for miles to see their pictures.
We had over 108,000
Some of these kids are probably in their 60s now.
entries, and the standard of these entries really was extraordinarily high. I'm really looking forward, if I can get through the crowd, to show these designs to Sir Henry Johnson, who is the chairman of the British Railways Board. And he's here with me now, and I'm sure that we'll enjoy looking. Sir Henry.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, but most of all, children, thank you very much, Mr.
These kids are
Brown,
not
for
paying
your
attention.
kind introduction. You know, I think it's a wonderful thing that 8 million children...
Sir Henry told us that all
they
his
cut him
family
off.
were keen fans of Blue Peter, especially his grandchildren.
One age 6 and the other age 4. This is not a plug for you, Mr. Purvis, it's their favourite programme.
The time for the official opening of the exhibition had come.
Except now to say to Mr. Purvis, thank you and the BBC very much for all you've done, and I'd like you now to join me in declaring the exhibition open. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Sir Henry. And with Sir Henry, we do declare the exhibition open. We hope everyone who trips down the aisle to see it will be pleased by what they see and perhaps amused by some of it as well. But I think perhaps two of the first people to see the exhibition, before I take Sir Henry along, should be the two winners of the competition who are here today.
Oh, nice.
If I can call them up, Griffith and Jonathan. Here's Jonathan Maple, who won the 8s to 10s age group.
Bro, nice sweater.
And Griffith Davis down there, who won the 7s and under. Well, congratulations to you.
They booed him.
The 11s and over winner, David Hoyles, couldn't be there because he'd been ill. So we all hope he's better soon.
Jealous ass kids.
Trying to get to the pictures to show them to Sir Henry was a bit of a problem. Everyone crowded round to get a close look, and I began by showing Sir Henry the winning entries.
Oh, the runaway train came down the track and she blew. She blew. The runaway train came down the track and she blew. She blew. The runaway train came down the track, her whistle wide with throttle back, and she blew, 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 blew.
I'm always worried about watching the old stuff because you never know. If anybody in this episode didn't age well, I apologize.
The runaway train went over the hill and she blew. She blew.
Like, it sucks that the first thing that has to pop into my mind is I really hope whoever sings the song isn't a kiddie fiddler or something. But unfortunately, it seems like there's a lot of
If
that.
you'd like to see that exhibition, you can, because it's on at Euston Station until this coming Sunday. I've got 2 trains running on the Blue Peter layout.
Bro, I used to
today.
have one of
This
these
is
train
the
tracks.
532
It was lit.
Blue Peter, which we've run many times on the layout before, but today it's pulling 3 LNER coaches. Now these are 2 third-class coaches, complete ones, and 1 brake third-class coach. They're teak-sided with white roofs, and these are the design of Sir Nigel Gressley, who was the chief mechanical engineer
This
of
gives
the
me flashbacks.
LNER
I had one of these
from
when I was like
1923 until 1941. Now, although the 532 never pulled coaches like this when it was in service, I really do think that the colour scheme looks marvellous on the layout. Now, these teak coaches have been available for a few weeks now, so you may well have already seen them around.
I may have.
Something that's absolutely brand new is this engine here that's on the bottom of the ramp. This is a British Railways class B12 460. And although it looks like lots of other locomotives, it is quite different. And when I set it going, you'll be able to hear why.
Bet. Oh shit, it makes noise.
And straight off there, I think you can hear that it does make a noise just like a steam engine.
Hell yeah.
And the slower it goes, the slower the noise. And the
Technology
faster it goes,
brothers.
the faster the noise. I'll bring it round and stop it so I can show you just how the steam sound is made. It actually is made in the tender. I'll lift the tender off. And here on the rear axle of the back wheel there,
be careful
you
with
can see
it.
that there's
It's very
a piece
tender.
of metal sticking out just like a cam. As it turns round, it comes up against this piece of lighter coloured metal. That's a spring. You can see it pranging back there.
I do see
and
it.
it's covered in a sort of sandpaper, kind of sandpaper material, so that the metal sticking out scratches against it every time it turns round. And if I take the tender apart, just lift the top off it, and show you where the other end of the spring is fastened. There it is. It's on this acoustic box, which fits neatly into the tender. This acts as a magnification of the sound, so that when this is scratched, it really does make it sound quite loud, and it makes a nice steam noise. Well, I think that this steam noise and also the smoke coming out of the engine is very realistic indeed. Rather a good idea.
Well, not anymore because you broke it.
Over to John.
Well, today we're lighting the second candle on our Advent crown, which means there are only 2 more Blue Peters to Christmas.
Look, I've got the...
Oh shit, I could have saved this for December.
Well, of course, although we actually made this Advent crown ourselves, we didn't invent the idea. It's a custom that's been around now for hundreds of years, and it came first of all from countries like Austria and Italy. The idea is that you celebrate looking forward to the birth of Christ. So 4 Sundays
Can't say
before
I've ever
Christmas,
seen
you light
this.
the first candle. The next Sunday you light the second candle. The Sunday after that the third candle. And finally on Christmas Day itself you light all 4 candles.
But because we don't do Blue Peter every day, we decided that we'd light 1 candle on each of the 4 programs before
Fair
Christmas.
enough.
I think it's a rather nice idea.
Yes, it is a nice
Looks
idea.
a little bit
As I said,
flammable,
people all
but-
over Europe have been lighting Advent crowns now for hundreds of years. But there's one
I don't know if I've
important
ever
custom
heard of
in
an
Britain
Advent
that's only 24 years old, and that's lighting up the giant Christmas
I'm not
tree
religious, to be
in
fair.
Trafalgar Square. The tree is a present from the people of Norway, and you can imagine how honoured we were 2 years ago when John and Pete went to Norway to cut it down, and I was invited to help the Norwegian ambassador switch on the lights.
We went to Norway to
And on
murder
behalf
the
of
environment.
Londoners, and also on behalf of all our Blue Peter viewers all over the country, now comes the very big moment. Your Excellency?
Can barely make it out, but I can make out the lights. It's a huge ass tree. I can make out that much. The lights make it look very weirdly shaped.
And of course, that's something that we haven't seen yet this
Bro,
year.
that cat is
because although
vibing.
the Christmas tree arrived quite safely from Norway, because of the power cuts, the lights haven't been able to go on yet. But we've heard today the very important news that tonight the lights will be switched on.
Nice.
So Trafalgar Square should be beautifully sparkling in time for Christmas. Well, if you happen to have had power cuts in the area where you live, you will probably
I have,
experienced
actually,
the
recently.
strange sensation of walking down streets completely unlit. And it happens to be a very dark night with no moonlight, of course. You'll realize that it's almost like walking blindfolded. But in the olden days, people didn't have street lights because they hadn't been invented. So everybody was quite used to walking
You are the
around
olden
in the
days
dark.
now.
500 years ago, people carried special iron pots called cressets. They were filled with rope that had been soaked in tar, and they could be carried around or put in stands. The cressets smoked, and their smell was awful, and they didn't even give much light.
Well,
It
what
was
the
best
fuck?
to carry your own torch when you went out, and it was much safer to go out in groups, because thieves and cutthroats lurked in the shadows.
Those
On
bitches.
dark and cloudy nights, rich and fashionable people had servants to carry their lights. But ordinary people would give a copper or two to a young lad called a link boy, who'd see them safely home.
Well, you normal assholes.
Then, in 1792, coal gas was invented by a man called William Murdoch, who lived in Cornwall. He ran it in pipes to his home, which was the first ever house to be lit by gas. Before long,
And then they
gas
blew
lamps were
up.
hung in the streets of London. Some people were alarmed. They thought the newfangled invention would explode. But most people liked the new bright lights because they made
And
the
they only
streets
did
nicer than
explode
their own dark,
45%
miserable
of the
houses.
time.
The new gas lamps became more and more elaborate, and as the years went by, people wondered whatever they would think of next. And then, in 1848, an experimental light was set up in Trafalgar Square. This was a new invention, electric light.
Oh,
Soon, bright lights on enormous lampposts lit up every street.
too bright!
Carriages, horse-drawn buses, and even pedestrians could all be clearly seen. Bright enough to read by, people said, as they gathered with their newspapers under the new electric lights. But gas lights still stayed in use as well, and the lamplighter who lit each lamp separately as daylight faded was a favorite sight for children on their way home from
Hope we
school.
got paid well for that. Probably not. Dog.
And of course today you hardly see any gas lights at all. City streets are lit by electricity. Now usually the brightest lit street in London round about Christmas time is Regent Street. Though this year we were a little disappointed to hear that there weren't going to be any special Christmas lights at all. Not due to power cuts or anything like that, purely lack of money. But
Bruh.
fortunately, someone volunteered to
How
help
dare
out,
they be broke.
and the lights were saved. So the other week
Nice.
I went down to Regent Street to lend a hand in putting out the 1970 Christmas lights.
And by lend a hand, I mean I watched.
Shall I hook it on, George? I haven't had a good hook on tonight. There we are. All aboard.
All aboard.
Trips up and down Regent Street, isn't it? Okay.
The decorations always arrive in Regent Street ready to be strung up, and my first job was to help hoist up a huge set of green and white bells. To put up the whole set of lights takes about 6 days. Because
Wow.
the street is one of the busiest in the city, it's only possible to work during the late evening when the traffic isn't so heavy. And so just 2 strings of lights are put up in place each night.
If
And
we
you can
drop
barely
this, we
see.
drop a clanger.
This year, there's
Oh,
11
clangers.
strings altogether, stretching from Oxford Circus down to Piccadilly Circus, and I was helping put up number 6. The wires for the lights had already
Asshole.
been strung in place when I arrived, so the main job was to haul the decorations up in sections and attach them to the cables. They reached nearly 60 feet in the air, and on a cold winter's evening, it's a bit nippy up there.
No, I
There was
imagine.
a very tight schedule to work to if the lights were to be ready in time. The designer has called this year's decorations a Regency Christmas, and each string across the street has a big Christmas tree in the centre and a set of 4 bells on each side. And the whole thing is finished off with big white snowflakes. For the first time ever, there's movement in the lights because the bells will flash on and off as if they were swinging about.
Nice.
Each string of lights has 358 separate bulbs in it, and that means that altogether there's nearly 4,000 down the quarter-mile stretch of Regent Street. As we were fastening the lights in place, a team of men from the electricity board were working further down the street, testing them and making sure that everything was ready for the big switch on.
Nice.
Oh, isn't it pretty?
I was hoping there'd be no snags because I promised Pete and Val that when they were all lit up, I'd take them on a lightning tour.
Unfortunately, there were snags. I fell several feet to my death. I am now commentating this show from beyond the grave. Keep your eyes on the road!
Johnny. Oh, they're great, yeah. I didn't put that one up. No, it's a nice one, that. Most of these are working rather well.
Local crew of dumbasses crashes while looking at lights.
But you can't find the one that I put up, I'll tell you.
Oh, well, that's not working. Is that yours?
Yes.
I was
Got him!
pulling his leg. The decorations were dazzling, and this year's Christmas lights look brighter than ever.
And then, of course, all the lights went out because of the power cuts. And if you were a bit disappointed that you missed seeing them before that happened,
Bro, my goal in
don't
life
worry,
is to
because
vibe
last
as much
night
as I
they all
can.
came back on again, and with any luck, they should be on until 12th night.
So if you're anywhere down near Regent Street, pop round and have a look. They are quite
That
nice.
cat is fucking comfy.
One light that's going on today, no matter what, is this one.
It's like, don't touch me.
It's flashing away quite happily on our totalizer to show that you've sent us 140,000 forks and spoons.
And
What
this
the
is
fuck?
absolutely staggering because it means now we're well over halfway to our target
Ooh, big stretch.
of 3 Blue Peter holiday caravans. Now let's see, we need another 60,000 spoons and forks. I've got it right at last.
No, you were right.
So if you can, please have another look.
Had they
And if
invented
possible,
sporks at the
send
time?
us what you can to reach that
Because if
target.
they hadn't,
Yes,
he did.
because everything helps, even if it's only one spoon and fork, and it doesn't matter how bent or broken those might be. Well, helping with our collection has been Daniel, and he sent us in this parcel of spoons and forks. It's actually rather a good idea because they've been packed up in one of those cardboard centres from a
Bet his
kitchen
parents are
paper
pissed.
roll. You might find that quite a useful way of sending off yours. He also sent a little card in with it.
Where'd all our
Inside,
fucking
it
spoons
says,
go?
"Love from Daniel." I think considering Daniel is 2.5, that's jolly good writing.
Good, super. Well, Daniel's parcel arrived at our collection depot very quickly.
Daniel,
Because as well as
where's the
writing address,
spoons?
His mother also put on the new postal code. And that really does help the postman. So if you are sending us a parcel and you'd like to include the code, this is the full address to send it to. It's Blue Peter Holiday Caravan, 101 Queen Victoria Street, London. And here's the code, EC4P4EP.
Wonder if that's still
Blue
valid.
Peter Holiday Caravan, 101 Queen Victoria Street, London, EC4P4EP.
So you never know, by Monday we may be able to light up the 160,000 stage.
Which would
Wow.
be absolutely terrific. But as well as being busy collecting or helping sorting out at the collecting depot, we've also been very busy planning our Christmas Eve programme. Of course,
Bet.
as usual, we'll have a Christmas tree in the studio. We'll also have on display all your marvellous Christmas cards, and we'll be decorating it as usual. And because it's a very big studio, we'll need some pretty big decorations. In the end, we decided
It
the
looks
best thing to
huge.
do was to make them ourselves, and it's turned out to be a pretty messy job.
It did. And we've got the prototype here. This is a giant Christmas lantern. And I
looks like
think
an egg.
It's very attractive and very nicely decorated with gold leaves hanging off all the way around it there. These rather nice shining metal balls there, the small ones up here. It's got a glitter effect all the way around with gold paint and with red paint and a nice ribbon.
It looks
keep
like a
on
dinosaur egg,
to
bro.
whatever we want to hang it on. At the moment it's hanging onto this line, because we made this last week, but we're going to need an awful lot to get through the, if we're going to have the whole studio nicely decorated. So we've worked out the sort of conveyor belt system with everyone doing their bit.
Ah, the
John's doing his
balloon.
there.
Okay.
I'm starting off the production line. I reckon I got the best job here. Because you get a balloon, you blow it up, tie it off, get somebody to hold it or hang it up like I do, and then you get some Vaseline and you rub a nice layer of Vaseline all around the mouth of that, all over.
You rub
until
the
get a nice
Vaseline
even
after
layer
you tie it
from
off?
top to bottom and all around the sides. Then,
think it's
with
supposed
some
to be before.
string, get some string, hold it at the top, and wind it round as though you're winding up a huge great ball of string. Any sort of string will do. That parcel string that's all hairy is all right. Even wool, you could use wool and wrap it round, and eventually you start to get a sort of lacy effect, a lace effect. And when that is all done, you get this lace effect.
Then it
do
fucking
one round layer
explodes.
like that. Well, when this is finished, Val takes on the next stage.
And the next stage is to cover the balloon and the string with plaster, and when that dries, of course, it sets the string nice and hard. Now, I've got some plaster in a bowl here, and I'm going to add some water, and it's the sort of plaster that you get from a do-it-yourself shop, and just mix it up, as you can see, with some water. Now, if you can't get hold of any plaster like this, or you don't happen to have any in the house, you can always use flour and water paste. It's just as good, and it does take a little bit longer to dry. Now, the consistency is quite important. Too thick, and you'll find it difficult to spread on with your fingers. On the other hand, too runny, and it spreads on and just falls off again. So I think, what do you think, Pete? Is that
A little bit more.
tiny bit
Tiny
more
drop
water?
more water.
And you don't really have to work out all the lumps and knots.
That
That
cat's
doesn't
still
matter
just
at all,
vibing.
as long as it's just sort of sloshed around together. And the next stage, the messy stage, I'll pass over to Pete.
I thought you said it was do-it-yourself plaster. Why didn't you do it yourself? All I'm going to do is take a great big handful of this pretty messy stuff and put it all over one of John's string-covered balloons.
Yeah, before you put it all over yourself, I think I'd better give you a hand, because it really is messy. Now, if you are thinking of doing something like this, or making one of
Not
these...
in your boot.
It's my new boots, too. Whatever you do, put plenty of newspaper down underneath it, or else you'll end up not only with a balloon covered in plaster, but a floor covered in plaster, and you'll probably get a thick ear off your mum.
The
Yeah.
thing you don't have to worry about is getting it absolutely covered the whole way. I mean, you need it the whole way round, but you don't have to cover every single bit of the balloon, because the more plaster you've got on, the longer it takes to
The less likely it is to
set,
explode.
and also it makes it a little bit difficult when you come to the next stage, which involves a pin, and believe me, the pin is very important.
Well, it is important because you've got to be able to get the pin in to burst the balloon. And that, of course,
we are blowing
gives
them
you
up,
the
okay.
nice sort of tracery effect and the lacework effect. Well, I've got a balloon here that's dry. There's a space where I can pop the balloon,
Ah,
and the balloon should be on the end of that. That's right. So you can get rid of that or cut it off if you
and
want
now we
to.
have a cocoon.
And then, if you find that you've got too much plaster, I'll just cut that off actually and get it out of the way, like that. If you've got too much plaster, you can then use the end of a spoon or the end of a pair of scissors
To
and
smack
bash
the
away
shit
until
out.
it begins to look a little bit more open.
Release the
So you're getting
butterfly,
effect there.
release!
You can go on doing that as much as you want, really, until it looks as you want it. And then
Jesus,
you can
lady,
always
chill
just put
out.
It bends in like that, do that, and just bend it out again. And the next thing after you've done that is to decorate it. You can either leave it white as it is, or again you can paint it. And we've come up with a pretty quick way of doing that.
If you can possibly get hold of an aerosol can of paint, this really cuts the job down to a very short time indeed. You just spray this on, and we're using a silver here. You can use just about any colour you like. And for Christmas, I suppose we will use a variety of different colours. But there is a danger in doing this. Because it's an open work affair, the spray paint does tend to go right through. So if you did it indoors, you'd probably end up with paint all over the wall of the house instead of mainly on your lantern.
Oi.
So to avoid that, I think perhaps the best thing you can do, other than doing it outside doors, is to do what Johnny's doing with a brush.
Well, I'm down here on the floor. I've got my lantern stuck in a large cardboard box. Also, if you're going to do this,
I'm
put
living
lots
in
of
a box.
newspaper underneath
I'm
it.
living in a
I've got the
cardboard box.
lantern hung with a bit of string from the top, so I can spin it round like that, and just paint away. I'm putting a sort of pink paint on at the moment. Actually, a nice effect is to do a ring and then let it run, and you get a lovely runny. I've just thought of that. I'm a genius.
Sort of
aren't I?
magenta-ish.
Not really, but you're working well.
I'm working well, good. Well, when you finally coloured it, you can do as many colours as you want. By God, I just saw that on the telly. It looked a bit funny, didn't it? Well, when you're finished, you can let it hang here, wait till it dries. When it dries, then over my shoulder, I've got some here that are finished with decorations. You can start putting on decorations. Now, on this one, got a bit of ribbon through the top that it's strung up on. Little glass balls that you buy for Christmas trees. These are all strung all the way around
Like a
this.
libra, it looks terrible.
And a bit of ribbon as well fastens these ones on. There's also little silver bits.
That looks like a
sequins,
monstrosity, brother. Look at
And I've got
that.
another one next to it, which is decorated in blue and gold.
That
This
one's
is
a
just
bit
coloured
better.
paper, nice shiny paper. You can do anything you like with these. It gets a very nice effect.
Well, mine's covered with glitter and decorated at the top with lovely pink and red bows and then a
Yours
nice
looks like crap.
red rosette here on the side.
Well, I think we're only going to need a few more.
The
and,
first one is
we
a
should have enough for Christmas Eve.
monstrosity.
Yeah, I reckon we're going to have the smartest studio in the whole of the BBC. The Blue Peter one, I reckon we'll win a prize.
Yes,
I don't know
certainly
about
will do. And of course, the very nice thing about these decorations is that they don't cost much to make. If you went and tried to buy one this size in a shop, I should think you'd find it would cost you a small fortune. Well, I'm going to keep
It
my
might look
apron
better,
on for
though.
the moment because I've got a baby to feed. He's in
What?
this basket. And you can just
Is that a
see him
lion?
sitting out there. I don't suppose you need to be told. There, he's gone again. He's Lenny. He's 7 weeks old, and he's a lion cub. Come on, out you come. And I think perhaps you're going to come out on your own, or shall I lift
It's
you
like,
up?
what the hell am I doing here?
He's very
Where is
small,
my
of course,
mother?
at the moment.
Why am I in the
When he grows
United
about 3
Kingdom?
years' time, he'll be enormous. I certainly couldn't lift him onto my lap like this. He weigh about 400 pounds, and that's a lot more than me, John, and Pete put together.
What the hell is
And of
that?
course, we have had
Meow.
lion cubs on our programme before, and you probably wonder what's so special about Lenny. Well, he was born at Windsor Safari Park, and he was one of a litter of 3. And after he was only a few days old, something rather disastrous happened. His mother sat on and squashed to death his 2 sisters. Well, that meant that if Lenny wasn't removed
Fuck.
and fast from his mother, she'd probably have sat on and killed him as well.
Oh my
But the
god!
winter wasn't over. Because he was only a few days old, he wasn't able to feed himself, and that meant that he needed a foster mother as quickly as possible. Well, fortunately, one was found. and
Release
Pete's
me.
bringing her in now.
And this is
I'm
not
ferocious.
Petra, this is Sheena of Oldway. She's just called Sheena for short.
That's his mother?
And unlike Petra, she's a real Alsatian.
Mama!
True Alsatian.
And she's obviously quite used to Lenny, doesn't mind a bit these great paws all over her face and eyes. Very gentle indeed with him, and I think she very probably thinks that he's one of her pups.
Well, this isn't really surprising because when Lenny was brought to her, Sheena had just had her own litter of 6 puppies. And Mrs. Langton, her owner,
Release me.
thought that it was quite likely that Sheena would accept Lenny there as one of her own
Well,
puppies.
she did. The experiment was a great success, and she fed Lenny for about 3 weeks.
Lenny's
And he got quite used to
so
all the
mad,
puppies
bro.
and
Lenny's like,
was
let me
fine.
go.
Apart from the puppies, another friend of Lenny's is one of these kittens. It's just one of the few kittens that Mrs. Langton has got. Now, this kitten is called Holy Joe. He's a beautiful
Bro, look at this
sort of
kid. This
silver
kitten's
little
like, oh
puppy
god,
there.
what is
And
that?
Just compare
It's like
the
me,
two.
but
Where's
bigger.
Lenny going? He's upside down. Quick, Lenny,
Slipping
come
on
on,
my
mate.
overall.
Because believe it or not, and you might find it hard to believe, but these two are exactly the same age. Both Lenny and the kitten are 7 weeks old.
And he's like, hello.
Lenny is quite a lot bigger now.
I will
but
eat
just
you in the
think
future.
Of the future and the size that Lenny is going to grow to.
Well, he will grow absolutely enormous, won't he? And it's thanks to Sheena that he's
Kitten's
so
like,
alive
get
and
me
well today.
out of
He's
here.
done a really magnificent job on
Splendid,
him.
Mum.
Well, we'll be back again on Monday, and we'll keep our fingers very firmly crossed that we reach that 160,000 mark on our totalizer.
And you can also see what happened when I took the Blue Peter cameras to the factory that is melting down all your forks and spoons. So we'll see you on Monday.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bro, give Lenny his milk. He's wildin'. Don't let them loose next to each other. Kitten's like, oh, thank God, I'm safe under this giant dog. Oh my God, it's a huge dog. Bro, I hope they didn't try to bring Lenny back a couple years later, because Lenny probably ate them, bro. Lions don't forget. I think that's elephants, actually, but Lenny don't forget. Lenny is coming back with a vengeance. That was screwed out. So the mother sat on 2 of the 3 cubs and killed them? Jesus. Like, that's messed up, bro. I'll tell you what. Well, my favorite part of that was probably Lenny, although I very much enjoyed the Christmas lights. That actually got me very excited for Christmas month, and it made me sad because it's still a couple months off, but it's gonna be a fun one. I got a lot of stuff planned already. I got a lot of ideas. Well, that was a random episode from 1970 of Blue Peter. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want me to do more in the future, I'm sure I could find more random episodes from random years. That is going to do it for me today, though. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave it a like. If you didn't like it, don't. If you want to follow any of my social media links, my Twitch, where I stream every single day, my second channel, Freestyle Views, my Twitter. If you want to follow me on my Patreon, if you want to support me on my daily motion, all those things are in the video description down below, as well as the Twitch Files channel and the community Reddit. Also, thank you to all my Patrons who are currently named in the video description. In addition to your name in there, you get access to reaction videos, as well as read your comments up to a day early for as low as $1 or £1. With all that being said, though, my name is Taffrey Scene. It's been my reaction to Blue Peter, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.